Hello, welcome to today's video. We are on pages 104 and 105 of the book. And we are on Play Piano Now, Book 1, Alfred's. And as you can see, we have a little bit of a different setup with our video here today because we are talking about pedaling here on Unit 9. This is part 4 of Unit 9. And so this is my foot. Yes, I'm wearing socks. And these are the pedals of my piano underneath. You can't see because they're under here. You can also see those little cord there. That's for the pedal cam to see the pedals at the exact same time as you can see my hands. Okay, so the damper pedal, or as I like to call it, the sustained pedal, is the right pedal. There are usually 3 pedals there underneath a piano. And the one on the far right is this one here that I'm touching with my foot. And it says here, when you hold the pedal down, any tone you sound will continue after you release the key. So the reason for that is when you press down the pedal, the little felts or the little dampers inside that are holding onto the strings are released, and it allows the strings to freely vibrate. And as a matter of fact, if you were to even yell into the piano, you would hear the strings vibrate. Echo! So there's a little example there of the strings vibrating. Or if you were to play the keys like that, it allows them to freely vibrate. And of course, they will continue to ring until they completely stop vibrating. When we let go of the pedal, it puts the felts or the dampers back on to the pedal or onto the strings. Okay, so the right foot is always on top of the pedal. Always keep your heel on the floor while the toes come up and down just like that, see? And it says you can use your ankle like a hinge. See, it's kind of bending as you lift the foot up and down, bringing the pedal down, up, down, release. So down means bringing the pedal down, up means release the pedal. And when you're not using the pedal, you can just go ahead and rest it here on the side of the pedal. But when you are going to be using it, always rest it right on top with that heel on the floor. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our music here on page 104. There is another video that you should have watched which gave more information about playing pedal. And we're going to go ahead and demonstrate how to use the pedal. One thing to just keep in mind is when we play our note on the piano, the first one, when the pedal line goes down, travels to the side, and then it comes right back up again, talking about that symbol there underneath the notes. That's referring to when we hold the pedal down. So after playing the first note, G, is when I would press down on my pedals there. I don't bring them down together like that, but I always will play the key, and immediately after the pedal comes down, and if I were to let go, it's still sounding just like that. So always pressing the pedal down after playing the note. 2, 3. And notice that as soon as I play the key again, my foot comes up, but then it comes right back down again before releasing the note. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate these 2 exercises here. When you practice, however, you're going to play first without pedal, relying on the finger articulations, finger legato. So practice just by yourselves with your fingers. Then when you're ready to play with pedal, go ahead and put your foot there on top of the pedal. 1, 2, 3. So one thing you may have noticed is when I'm playing pedal or using the pedal, I will not stop the finger articulations. That's one thing we should always remember. A pedal does not substitute for correct finger articulations. When it does say legato, you should still play legato as though the pedal is not being pressed down. Although it does sustain the notes, your fingers should continue to play the correct articulations. So that's a demonstration of the first part. Number 2, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Ready? Here we go. Our foot is on top of the pedal. Ready, getting ready. So as soon as you play the first note, that's when it comes down like that. 1, 2, 3. Still legato. Of course, when we end at the end of the music, that's when we lift the pedal and the finger at the same time. You may have also noticed that as I was pedaling, I don't exactly release my foot off the pedal when I release my fingers off the key. Now, the reason for that is I don't want my finger to be on the key and then allow a space of silence when there's not supposed to, or I don't want to catch a previous note from a previous measure that does not belong to a new pedal. Okay, so you may want to release it before you lift the foot off the key because it will still sustain. But remember, as soon as you're ready to play the new section or the new phrase, lift that pedal as soon as you play the key. So you don't catch the previous note, but then you still catch that note while the finger is down. Okay, very good. So let's go ahead now and move on to page 105, Unit 9, Harp Song. So Harp Song, this one here is made of entirely broken chords. And the chords we already know are G and D7. Very nice. So you may want to just go ahead and play through the music, the harp song, recognizing the chords. Last note is G. Okay, so after you have recognized what the chords are, play without the pedal, only observing the finger articulations. G, B, D, G, B, D. All legato, lift. Now you may have noticed as I was playing this right hand on measure number 4 there, my left hand moved into position to prepare for measure number 5, which is going to be in D7 position. So F sharp, C, D, that's my D7 right there. And you should always prepare as a pianist. Before you start playing a measure, while one hand is busy and another is not, you can go ahead and move that hand into that position and get ready to play those notes when it's their turn. So that can happen either for here or for the right hand, either left or right. So let's go ahead now, play F, starting at measure number 5. All legato, lift. Then of course it goes back to G position. Alrighty, so after we have practiced the the legato articulations there for the right hand and left, then we're going to go ahead and add pedal. So go ahead and put your foot right on top of that pedal right there, making sure that your heel is on the floor, ankles at the hinge. So bringing it down and up when it's required. Okay, so remember, after playing the first note, that's when we bring it down. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now you may have noticed that I did lift in the middle of that measure on the second system. I apologize for that. You, however, will not lift, but you will keep it down for all 4 measures. Okay, so one thing you may have noticed is I was lifting my hand before I was ready to play the next phrase. Now that's because your hands are supposed to play or are supposed to lift after the slur is done, after the phrase is done. So there should be a lift in the fingers, although you will not hear it because the pedal is sustaining all the notes. Okay, one thing also, once again, as a reminder, after playing the end of a phrase and the end of a pedal, so you lift the finger off. As soon as you play that key, pedal comes up from the previous notes, comes right back down before you let go. So it's kind of like a very fast 16th note rhythm. So it comes up and down, just like that, very quickly. So notice that it comes up and down before that finger leaves, so you can actually catch that one inside the pedal. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when we are playing with our foot on the pedal, I don't want you to just think about it as something that helps to make the strings or the sounds of the notes of the keys ring. I want you to think about a pedal as a key on the keyboard. It is another key. It just happens to be here where the foot is playing it. So your foot now becomes another finger from your hand. And this key right here, it does not have a tone. It does not make a sound of music like that, but it still requires a rhythm when we play. So I want you to take a look here at your music on pages 104 and 105, and of course subsequent music as well. Let's start off with page 104, 1 and 2. Now notice that the pedal markings are going to start here at the beginning of our 3/4 time, and it travels all the way to the end of a second measure, lasting for 2 measures. Now, it's just a line, but if you were to apply a rhythm to this pedal, as though your foot were playing notes on a keyboard, what rhythm would you apply to these 2 measures here? And if you said 2 dotted half notes that are tied together, you are correct. So the rhythm of your pedal are 2 dotted half notes tied together. So 1, 2, 3, tie, 2, 3, lift. And that's going to apply for everything here. As for harp song, because the pedals are lasting for 4 measures, and it is in 3/4 time, you are going to have 4 dotted half notes, this time, tied together, just like that. 1, 2, 3, tie, 2, 3, tie, 2, 3, tie, 2, 3, release. And then of course at the bottom there, because you have just 2 pedals for 2 measures, they're going to be 2 dotted half notes tied together. Again, just like on the previous page. Okay, so today we've learned that when we have our music on, we're playing with pedal, we always play the note before lifting or before applying the pedal. When we already have notes down, we lift the pedal as soon as we play a new note, and then we bring it right back down again before playing a new note so we can catch that new note with all the rest. And then of course we may want to release the finger off the key early before we release the pedal on our foot. And then the last thing we talked about was pedaling is like rhythm. It's like playing keys on the piano. It has a rhythm also. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice these 2 pieces here on pages 104 and 105, and we will see you at next lesson.